All right, everyone, let's get started. Thanks so much for joining us today on another Meet the Team call. I am your host, Mike, and today's guest is Carlo, Partnerships Manager with Shakepay. Carlo, welcome to the chat. Thanks so much for being here today.
What's up, Mike? Yeah, thanks. So happy to be here. This is really exciting. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We're happy to have you here. Carlo, let's get right into it, man. Why don't you tell us about your role here at Shakepay? What do you do?
Yeah, I joined Shakepay 6 months ago now, and the role has evolved, but essentially partnerships is all-encompassing, I guess, strategy around building relationships with different brands and businesses to get in front of, who want to get in front of the Bitcoin space and have exposure to Bitcoin. And essentially, it started off as our partnerships with merchants for our card program. So, the different brands that we would be partnering with to get involved in the cashback rewards program. And this then started to also include partnerships within different, brand building verticals, whether it be with individuals, ambassador programs, different organizations, sponsorships, charities, you name it. So anything outside of, ShakePay itself and our relationships into the B2B space, so business to business space, and that business development, kind of branching out and creating value partnerships with different brands that want to get exposure to Bitcoin in one way or another and connect to our rails in order to achieve that.
That's excellent. Excellent. I personally know that you are doing amazing work for everything that we're trying to accomplish here. I know that we won't divulge too deeply into which specific partnerships, but great things on the horizon coming up here. Carlo, why don't you tell us about your first introduction into Bitcoin itself?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying that everyone, I love this sort of adage, which is everyone, gets Bitcoin at the price that they deserve. So that's I'll lead in with that. So my first introduction to Bitcoin was in 2011, and I didn't buy any, so hold tight. I learned about it because some of you may know about Max Kaiser and the Kaiser report. He's this, very fringe financial analyst that was a very early Bitcoin adopter and was on, CNBC, and it was on shows like Alex Jones and Coast to Coast with what's his name, Art Bell, and all those kinds of fringe, conspiracy theory shows. And so I was into some of that back in the day, and I heard Max Kaiser speak. And if he wasn't such a wacky guy, I would have maybe taken it a bit more seriously. But that was my first, like, oh, what is this internet funny money? And then, of course, fast forward a couple of years, my, former co-founder of a startup that I used to have, he starts talking to me about Bitcoin. I'm like, gosh, yeah, what price is that at now? He's like, oh, it's like $400 or something. And I'm like, well, sorry for swearing. Can I swear on this thing?
It's yeah, you did. So I mean,
I'll try
let's
not
just
to.
keep
Sorry,
going.
yeah, I'll try not to leave that part out. So, so I'm like, oh man, we missed it, and then so I went on home and I tried to buy some, and it was really difficult to get Bitcoin in that at that time in Canada, especially. Then I used to work. I used to have a restaurant, a bar. I was in the hospitality industry for a little while here in Montreal, and the for those of you who know Quebec, there was a Belle Province right next to where my place was, and they had installed a Bitcoin ATM. I'm like, this thing is following me everywhere, right? And so now we're in 2016, and so around that time, 2016, 2017, as it was kind of starting to get into that first bubble, I started to dabble, but really, not exclusively doing my homework and understanding what Bitcoin was, but just more about the crypto space and blockchain and yada yada yada. So that was when I first started to, like, get my holding on to the asset and sort of playing with it. But I only really started doing the real work in 2020 with the latest, coronavirus stuff, and what happened to the
Mhm.
markets at that point, and the dialogue and conversation that I was having with myself, had led up to all that, learnings that I had done over the past 10 years, so to speak, about what money is. And sort of I started pulling on that thread and that curiosity, connecting the dots of things that I vaguely touched on and understood, over the course of that previous decade. And then things started to line up, and that's when I really started going down the proverbial rabbit hole.
Damn. That what a like interesting come up to get into Bitcoin. I mean, it seems like it was meant to find you or you were meant to find it.
Yeah,
It
something
was
like that.
following
A
you
little,
all along.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, now let me ask you, Carlo, how has Bitcoin, since you started early 2011, you mentioned, how has Bitcoin shaped your view on the monetary system?
So no, this is a great question. I mean, we have what, an hour? Okay. So uh, I would say, I mean, I like the idea of a monetary system. That's pretty much like, full stop. We don't have a money, and so Bitcoin has, that rabbit hole I was talking about. I mean, the idea of a monetary system is great, but what we have is a credit slash debt system, and what Bitcoin has sort of, I guess, allowed, or for the first time in history, created this, sound hard money that gives every single person on the planet an opportunity to transact and hold safely. And so the idea of monetary policy is great with Bitcoin. The current monetary policy is not a monetary policy, and it's a credit a debt system, and will, continue to debase our energy because of how, and how it's, predicated to just continue to go down because of inflation and because of money printing. And I mean, that's very
Mhm.
simple put, but ultimately, yeah, I've come to understand from at a high level at least, how macroeconomics is very much not in the interest of the many, but in the few. And so Bitcoin is our opportunity for the first time in human history to change that.
Couldn't agree with you more, Carlo. You said it perfectly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. What are some of the resources you use to learn more about Bitcoin? Are there certain books or articles that you found very helpful and insightful when discovering Bitcoin?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so different, discovering Bitcoin versus now, in my more sort of, like, further down the path of learning state, what I would recommend in hindsight to someone who's, let's say, either, wants to have, more material, or wants to be able to share easily digestible material to someone they care about. Because I like to say, we orange pill the people we care about because of how important Bitcoin is. Otherwise, we just sound like used car salesmen trying to get someone to buy into a Ponzi scheme if they're not caring about it. So what I would say is, um, uh, Bitcoin hard money you can't f with, Fuck, Mike, for editing purposes. It's the title of the book. It's by Jason
Right.
Williams. Great intro to Bitcoin. The storytelling of Jason is fantastic. Easily consumable in the audio version as well. If you have only 1 hour to spare, I would say Michael Saylor and Ross Stevens, who's the founder of NYDIG. NYDIG is a fund that invests in BTC futures contracts. So they do a 1 hour sort of really high level summation of, what money is, why it's broken, and how Bitcoin fixes it. It's beautifully said. So I would search that if I were you. If you wanted to go deeper, uh, Parker Lewis's Gradually Then Suddenly series. Parker Lewis works for Unchained Capital,
Hmm.
uh, and the Gradually Then Suddenly series is like a 20-part series. I would start with the first one, which I think is called Bitcoin is the Great Definancialization, and just work your way down from there. And then even more in depth, I would go to Robert Breedlove's What Is Money show, the Sailor series. I mean, there's a bunch of great series there. There's a Jeff Booth series. The Sailor series is a 19-part video series. They're each about 9 minutes long or so. Go through those from 1 to 19. Your mind will be blown. Yeah, and finally, I would say Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. Now, this is for me such a powerful book because it it's a thought. It unpacks really on a macro level what's going on in our economy, uh, from an inflation perspective and how technology is the gravitational force trying to fight down technology, because trying to fight down inflation in our monetary system, because of its deflationary principles. So if you think of, if I'll give Mike, if I can, I'll give a quick explanation of why I think this book is important. Um,
Dude, please, please.
yeah,
I love the book also. Just reiterating, I enjoyed The Price of Tomorrow myself.
Yeah, I think it's a must read for anyone who's interested in macroeconomics, the future of our economies, and why Bitcoin solves the problems that we're talking about with the money system. So technology is by nature deflationary. As we continue to become better producers of goods and services through technology, the cost to produce those goods should theoretically go down. And so we should be able to free up more of our time and energy to devote to other things other than making money, because the cost of living should, in theory, go down because technology is driving those prices down. The efficiencies in everything from supply chain to your iPhone that now does 10,000 things, whereas 50 years ago you would have had to have 10,000 different physical tools to be able to do what your one device does. And so these technological advances are driving prices down, but because of our inflationary monetary system, which is fighting against the gravitational forces of technology, which is trying to bring our cost of living down, um, we are currently at odds with our economic system. So there is going to be a point, a breaking point, where either the we allow technology to coexist with a monetary system that aligns with, or we will continuously be in this spiral of like prices trying to go up, technology trying to go down, and instead of using productivity as a measure of GDP, we use something like growth as a measure of GDP. And growth forever means that we need to forever in this finite world continue to grow with finite resources, which is obviously an oxymoron and can never happen. So our life needs to function in a deflationary system, and that's what Jeff Booth articulates so well.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your previous experience? You mentioned earlier that you had a restaurant before. Tell us about
So
that.
yeah, okay. So seems like a lifetime ago, or even someone else's lifetime ago, really. Well, I was in the hospitality industry for a long time. Call it at least 10 years. I had of a bed and breakfast with my wife. I had two or three sort of bars, restaurants slash nightlife establishments in the city, and then when I decided that I wanted to get involved in tech and either start my own tech company or work for a tech company that had the same sort of values and mission goals that I did. I joined. I started a bunch of projects with my good friend and former co-founder. We did, man, we did a couple of things. So we did a medical tourism chatbot that connected patients in North America to clinics in South America. We worked on an automated coat hanging service to help like expedite coat check services in large venues. We did what was the other thing we did? We did it was a space rental platform for independent professionals, and we worked on this other thing, which was like measuring emissions from commuters going to the office right before, to try and entice businesses to allow their employees to work from remote, to see what kind of savings they can get, both environmentally and economically, time wise, and all that stuff. So we did a bunch of these different projects, and then eventually, for one of them, we got accepted into an accelerator in the Bay Area. We raised some money. At the same time, I was working at a tech company based in Montreal, and I eventually left my role at the ed tech company, which was in the service department. So I was responsible for scaling it's a 24/7 tutoring platform, and I was responsible for scaling the tutoring services, hiring and training all the tutors that would be working, 24/7 around the clock. Basically went from ed tech to our startup. We raised some money, did about a year and a half with the startup. COVID came, of course. Space rental was not a good business to be in during COVID.
Right.
So we shut down, and yeah, and then that slowly made, during that time, right, it was 2020 at that point, and I'm like, I need to either start my own Bitcoin company or be involved in Bitcoin somehow. I like put my planted my flag in the ground and said, this is non-negotiable. This is what's going to happen next, because it's all I could think about, and I was just so far in going down the rabbit hole that I couldn't see myself doing any other work really. And so yeah, it was around I guess, end of 2020. I connected with someone Alex, who works here at the company. We knew each other. I think we were the same former investor at our previous startups, who kind of connected us in a casual conversation. We did Bitcoin, of course, and we were just shooting the poop, so to speak. And I really got to hold back my potty mouth. Sorry. It's gonna happen. Can't stop it. So then, what happened next? Yeah. So then, Alex and I connected, and then I think it was in early spring of 2021, and yeah, I saw the post for partnerships, and I had been in B2B with the work I had been doing for so long, with my startups and the previous startups that I had, and even in ed tech, we were direct to schools, so I was involved in building programs for businesses there, and I saw this partnerships role, and I'm like, this is my job. This time I am 100% getting this role, and so I messaged Alex. I said, "Are you guys still looking?" Yeah, and he said, "Yep." I think it was very serendipitous timing because the role had been kind of like maybe filled, wasn't. So I kind of like popped in at a good time, and so he connected me to the hiring manager, and yeah, went through the interview process. Got the job, and that's it.
Dude, amazing. I actually didn't know that story, so that's really cool. How you kind of connected with another employee and they
Yeah.
got you the hookup. Very, very cool. Your previous job experience, it translated well into your new current role here at Shakepay?
So I was so used to, by this point, dealing with businesses and building partnerships, both from working in the hospitality industry, but more so with the startups that I had launched, and the ed tech company. So at that ed tech company, I was not only scaling services for the tutors, but they had asked me to help out the customer success team for about a year. So I was doing two roles, and during that time, the main question I had was, how are we going to learn what services and tools and products or features rather that we have to build for the students? And I said, well, we got to get to schools. We're not using the product, right? We're not kids in high school that are using this tutoring platform. So there's like a level separation between us and the customer, because unlike right now at Shakepay, we're all users of our own product, right? So it's very easy for us to feel this sort of uh, very, like, always remain in context about how the experience is, at least much closer, right? And so yeah, I traveled around the Northeast US, across Canada, and basically visited a bunch of schools and met with principals and decision makers, and that was just one of the experiences that I had with understanding the people on the other side, building business relationships where there's conventionally pushback into technology or new tools and services that could be game changing for the person that you're presenting them to, or the institution that you're presenting them to. And so yeah, very much like have that in my I guess just naturally love being in a space and helping, it's not really sales, but it's like education almost, right? And yeah,
Mhm.
this role just fits really, really well with me for that, because I get to get on calls and talk to, decision makers at some of the biggest companies in the world, and talk to them about how Bitcoin is changing our lives, and how they should get in front of it, and it's just a blast.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you are the perfect fit for the job.
So Shakepay is a like full stop the best culture and team I've ever worked with. And I'm old, right? Like oldish. So that means a lot. uh,
Oldest.
yeah, old. So so for one, I mean, in terms of a change, I think it was a change to have and I've worked at really good companies, and it's not to say that those experiences weren't good. It's just that this um, has been incredibly special. People really care about each other, and I think it's not just words um, on a values board, right? It's the execution and action behind them, and that takes work. It's purposeful,
Mm.
and everyone has to be on the same page, so to speak, in order for that to scale. And I'll explain. Culture is the most difficult thing to scale in an organization. And when you're your earliest hires, the first 3, 4, 5 people in a team, you build this relationship. You're like literally in the trenches. It's the hardest thing in the world. The default state for your company is to be obliterated and never make it to the next, but you're there and you're fighting, and you build this bond and this strength and this relationship together, and it just carries you forward. Then you hire the next wave of team members, and it's contagious, to the effect that those original 4 or 5 people can transmit very well the energy and the ethos of the company, because they've lived it firsthand. So scaling culture has in a natural dilution effect baked into it, and you have to ensure that you're taking care of that and nurturing that as your team grows, because the first 5 are going to that to the next, let's call it 20 or 15 people. And now those 15 people, they're the next ambassadors to carry forward culture to the next 100 people. So if there's dilution in the value across the different waves of hires through the growth cycle of the organization, then that's when you have a break in culture. And one thing that has just been remarkable is that Shakepay, it seems to be getting stronger. And that is just, not only is it remarkable, it's incredibly difficult, but it seems like we do it effortlessly, and I'm just amazed by it all the time. So that's the one sort of, I guess it's not an adjustment, but I guess the most remarkable thing. Two, I couldn't have a more inline mission with my own personal goals and the company. So that's like an incredible bonus. And then 3, I would say, in terms of challenges, the role in itself was very, I guess, in its nebulous. It did not really exist. So and that's where I shine. I love from 0 to 1, and that comes with challenges. There's a lot of learning and discovery, which of course I'm still doing. But just like understanding the role, where how the system worked for partnerships in in the cashback space, the language and the different opportunities for Bitcoin as far as, sponsorships, financial institutions, regulatory environment. What is it that we can do, can't do? How do we figure out creative ways to get in front of opportunities, looking a few steps ahead. We like to say, it feels like drinking water from a fire hose, which is just definitely the best way I could make that visual for anyone who wants to know what it feels like. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's been a wonderful challenge.
Wow. I'm just trying to like break down everything you said, and it is insane to think how far you've come in just such a short amount of time. Why don't you explain some of the things that you've been learning since starting at Shakepay? Like you just mentioned that, you know, everything is kind of open. You didn't really know what your role entailed until you're in the thick of it. You opened the fire hose and now it's blasting off, and you
Yeah.
can't stop it, right? It's going. Tell us about some of the things that you learned since starting here. You've only been here for what, 6 months now,
Months, yeah.
and look at how far you've come in that short amount of time.
I think so. Um, I thank you, first of all, Mike, and I do credit the organization, because we have a policy about building in public here, and that really creates this forum where we're all exposed or have access to pretty much everything going on in the company. And I mean, Mike, you guys are up here on stage, you can attest to that. I'm not saying anything that isn't true. Um,
Mhm.
and and having that, right, uh, by nature, if you're a Bitcoiner, you're curious. And then we have this environment where curiosity is rewarded because everything is there, like a wiki, like Wikipedia, or everything is there for anyone to grab hold of. And if you see a problem in something, you're encouraged to go down that, quote unquote rabbit hole, even, that Shakepay rabbit. And so, the things that I've been working on, or what I've learned, really is, like I was touching on before, there's a system for partnerships, as far as, affiliation and cashback and rewards, card programs. And so I spent the first part, I would say, the majority of the first 3 months trying to figure out where we fit in this cog of like systems, and how we could, find a foothold to put our foot on and prop ourselves up from. And you know like the online world, how can our card work and cashback programs work for online transactions, and what does that mean for us on the product side? For the in-store world, how do we build relationships with in-store physical stores, and have our card and cashback programs work in those environments? What are the different products and platforms that we need in order, from a, development wise, in order for all these things to communicate? Who are the stakeholders on the institutional side, banking and otherwise, in order for this stuff to like this data to funnel into us, and of course to our stakeholders, so merchants, when we need to report, s- data back to our merchants, because we have, obligation through this partnership. We need to be able to share information transparently with them. So understanding all this stuff, of course, was relatively new to me, and so just like digging in, and I felt like it was an endless pit, and I still on some days do. But it's obviously taking shape now, and learning about just the ins and outs of financial institutions and our banking partners, and how we work with them, and compliance and regulation, and having a better understanding of the underpinnings of that world, so that I could make more informed decisions when I go out into the business development side of things.
Wow, Carlo, you've been busy. That is
Yeah.
a lot. Holy. Maybe for the community, let's let them know, what kind of partnerships are we looking for?
Everything. Bring it. No, I mean,
Be
generally,
prepared.
yeah, generally, yes. That is true, but I mean, can't get too specific on brands itself right now.
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah, but from your mom and pop shop chain cafe, across specific markets in our country to your more franchised, uh, you know, well-established conglomerate, across all industries, from like I was saying, sports to travel to uh, food, you name it, health. We're really exploring brand leaders and local brand leaders across the country, and it's some relationships are more difficult to build. So this is not something that we just pick up the phone and you call the head of of you know Fortune 500 company and be like, hey, you want to join our Shakepay? Sign here.
If
Uh,
only.
yeah, if only. Yeah, so the larger orgs and even some of the smaller ones, there's many businesses feel like they're getting a cold call, and it's a way to take away from their already very thin margins. So it's part of the role of the partnerships team to forge those relationships and take the time that's needed to build them in a way to have exposure to Bitcoin and crypto through Shakepay and through their partnership with us.
Amazing, amazing. I know that the community is probably eager to hear what we got cooking up for them. Is there a way that the community can get involved and maybe suggest or enlist different partnerships for us to reach out to?
Carlo at shakepay.com. No, I mean, yes. Partners at shakepay.com or Carlo at shakepay.com. I mean, go for it. My inbox is already pretty lit, but bring it. I'm here to make this come to life, and what better than to have it represent the people that support us. So whatever, yeah, if you have some insight or some idea that you think would be good rock for us to look under, and it might be something we've already explored, and either way, nothing to lose. I try to get back to emails as quick as possible, so yeah, feel free to reach out to me directly, and yeah, we'll go from there.
There you have it. Community, you heard it from Carlo himself. If you have a brand or a business that you'd like to, ShakePay to partner with, please send him a DM or send him a message. His email is carlo@shakepay.com. Next question, Carlo, I got a good one for you. How will a partnership work with the ShakePay card?
Okay, so there's two things. You have in-store experiences and you have online experiences. Now, your online experience, uh, think of it like a rewards experience in the app that will help you find businesses and brands that we've partnered with, and that you could uh, basically shop directly through the app to go and get and like what their cashback reward is, something to that effect. We're still ideating what exactly how that is going to look like in detail, but the rewards experience online through the app is one, and then you have the rewards experience in store. So when you're shopping and you have your ShakePay card, some of our merchants will have we accept ShakePay card here, stickers, so you'll know. We're gonna do our best to make those announcements on a regular basis. You could find them most likely in our app. So who our partners are, even if you can't shop online, but it's a coffee shop or something in your area, then you'll be able to find that in the app experience, and then figure out where it is, and go to it if it's nearby where you live. So that's generally how the rewards or kind of the card and the partnerships work. Partners will all be aware that they're ShakePay cashback program partners through some affiliate network or directly through the partner themselves. And yeah, that's essentially how it will, a version of that, something to that effect, how it will work.
Very cool. I know the community is going to be looking forward to that. I know I am. Why don't we change the topic a little bit? I have a personal question for you. Do you have any hobbies? Like, what do you do outside of work when you're not, you know, orange pilling businesses?
Well,
What do you
not
do for
only
fun?
building businesses and taking care of my two daughters with my wife, of course. I am. Yeah. Gee. So what do I like? I guess I snowboard. I'm taking my daughter, my eldest daughter, snowboarding for the first. She's 5. Snowboarding for the first time this year. So that I surf when I can. And Not a great surfer, but I love to do that.
Nice.
Tennis. I love to play tennis. I run. And besides that, I mean, you could find me chatting about Bitcoin. I'm pretty much all in. So yeah, I spend a lot of my time just learning about macroeconomics, philosophy of money, and understanding, uh, trying to look ahead and understand, where trends are going. It helps me in my work,
Mm.
and it keeps me staying fresh, and not that I need much, but I love the motivation that it gives me when I start to understand and unravel more. So yeah.
Completely agree. It's like as if, the more you understand something, the deeper you want to indulge into it. I get that feeling quite often, especially if I find a article or something that's got a new topic that I find very interesting. As soon as I start to understand it, it's like I just need to consume more.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree, Mike. There's it's the curiosity, right? Being curious is kind of the secret to life, I think. And once you unlocked this passion to want to continue to learn, there's never a dull moment.
100%, 100%. Speaking about that, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but this doesn't necessarily have to be about Bitcoin. Is there any other good books that, the community should check out, or maybe a favorite author that you love his work?
Um, I mean, I recently read, the book is called, was it Grover? Tim Grover? I think it's Tim Grover. He wrote Relentless. He was like the coach for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade, amongst others. And his philosophy on getting what you want in life, and how to, like, be like Mike, quote unquote. But yeah, so Tim Grover's book was fun. Um, I mean, as far as like people that I follow in the industry, um, Joe Carlosare he's like a lawyer, has a great understanding of macroeconomics and legal review, that is involved with just generally, not just for Bitcoin, but it ties often into Bitcoin. Preston Pish, I think, is brilliant. He has a great podcast called the Investors Podcast, and We Study Billionaires. The We Study Billionaires show. So yeah, I spend I'll look for shows coming on Preston's show. What other books? I mean, can't yeah, that's
Or
it.
maybe it doesn't necessarily, like, maybe let's take a step back from books. You just mentioned quite a few people. My next question was going to be what sort of role models do you have in this industry? Who do you look up to, in decision making, strategy wise, or even personal level?
Yeah. So when I was going through, learning about startups and business, I really enjoy uh, Reid Hoffman's work. I find he has a wonderfully genuine, authentic way of breaking down what scaling and growing a business is like. And for those who don't know, he's was in the part of the PayPal group, and he founded LinkedIn, and his podcast Masters of Scale is an excellent one. I haven't listened to in a little bit, but I generally do like Reed's take on on just business and that kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch right now. I'm just kind of drawing. If I get that was kind of
No,
the first one to come to mind.
oh, that was actually excellent. I think that was more than enough. What we'll do at the end of the call, I'm going to try and link some of the books and some of the podcasts that you mentioned for the community. So if they wanted to check it out, please do so. I actually think that it's about time. What are we, like 45 minutes in? About
Yep,
time we let the community ask you some questions, Carlo.
let's do it.
If you guys wanted to come up on stage, please put up your hand. I see a few of you have already done so. Let me invite. All right, OZ Gunner, welcome. How are you doing?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thanks for coming up today.
Hey, Oz.
No problem. Thank you for inviting.
What's up, Oz?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks, man.
I had a question, not like related to Shakepay per se, but it's more about like because you mentioned like Sailor series, which I've gone through on Robert Breedlove's YouTube channel and so on. So like there's two schools of thought that I see online. There is like people like Michael Saylor who believe there's only like Bitcoin, and there's like obviously other like crypto assets like Ethereum and other chains. What it is, what is it that you like see in this like ecosphere? Like, is it like only Bitcoin in the future, or do you believe they have like other chains have some legitimacy to exist and like so on? So like yeah, just like your overall like stance on it, and that's what I would like to know.
Sure, Oz, love that question. Thanks. So I'll start off by saying that a profile, my profile is I'm not like a big risk taker. So that in mind, for me, Bitcoin solves one very specific problem, and it's proven to do that incredibly well and consistently 12 years, and that's the money problem. And so the way I see Bitcoin is investing into a digital asset that is front running a monetary system. So it has not yet reached its asset value potential. And so right now, as a retail investor, we have the opportunity to front run its future appreciation, which has never been the case. The Cantillon effect is the quite opposite, which is, money printer go burr, and then, the people closest to the money printer get access to the money first, and then, we're all left with scraps after they've done feeding. And so for me, there is definitely yield to be made. People have made money in different crypto, and there's other chains that are doing other work. I believe they are far more speculative, and there's less of a maturity to them. And I can't speak for everyone, but as far as my belief system, the problem that Bitcoin is solving, and the meme Bitcoin fixes this. You solve the money, you solve the world. That is magnificent enough for me, and also tie it to the fact that it has it has this like front running monetary appreciation is sort of opportunity, quote unquote. That for me is is where I want to invest my energy, for no pun intended. And yeah, so if there's opportunities, and will other coins and other chains find value in the future to solve other problems, yeah, there's how can anyone say with absolute certainty no? But that's just not where I invest my energy, because one, my risk tolerance is very, very low, and two, I think that Bitcoin solving the money problem is as important as it gets. So that's where I put my energy.
Yeah, that is a very well put answer. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you for giving me the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming up on stage. Awesome. Is there anyone else that wanted to ask a question? In the meantime, Carlo, I have a good question for you. We were just speaking about you're investing your time into Bitcoin specifically because it's solving these issues. Where do you see Bitcoin in 5 or 10 years? Like, what's the future hold for Bitcoin, in your opinion?
Yeah. So because of the fundamentals of, this sound money, I, that Parker Lewis series called Gradually Then Suddenly, I think is a great way to kind of see how, it's a title that I kind of relate with, because I do think that things are going to happen quickly. At first they happen very slowly, and then things will happen quickly. I can't say, for certain, when, not like, price aside, more and more big money over the next 5 years, I would say, and not necessarily institutions, but even just wealthy individuals or family businesses, family offices, are going to realize that this is something that they need to have, because it is the safest place to put their money. And when big money starts to come in at scale, it's going to have reverberations around the entire economic system. I think regulations, as far as like in Canada goes, we've already have ETFs. I think those will be coming soon in the US, which will, sort of open up the floodgates a little bit. And I think that, Bitcoin is obviously here to stay, and its position in as a store of value would be the narrative over the next, couple of years for sure. And then, where it goes from there, I think, as digital property, once it starts to mature, as the, best store of value and digital property for everyone on Earth, then with these additional layers like Lightning and Liquid built on top, and the development that's going to happen around these layers, I think that's going to open up a whole other stream of growth within Bitcoin that is just really exciting. And too much into it, but I do believe that we're headed into a store of value, sort of adoption curve, so to speak, over the next, I guess, 3 to 5 years, probably even maybe less.
Amazing. I think it's we're moving into the golden age of Bitcoin. I completely agree with you. I think that, the next little while here, people are going to start to realize just how powerful this really is. Jay Skittles, I see you up on stage. Welcome, man. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you. How are you guys?
Really good.
Hey, Jay.
How's it going? So my question for Carlo, you mentioned you previously worked on a customer success team. I was wondering if that's something you think is going to be implemented more into your current team. Is there any plans for customer success roles coming up anytime soon?
So as far as the growth of the partnerships team, I think in general, customer centricity should be a value that most, everyone at any company should have. Just, when you put the customer first, good things tend to happen. You build products that people love. And so as far as like a customer success role within partnerships, it's a little bit vague for me to kind of map that out. Partnerships is going to be around being on the front lines, developing processes to onboard and develop relationships with different brands across different verticals, in different industries rather, and so having that comfort and ability and drive to want to get out there and understand the company's mission, understand what the opportunity is, and then being able to go out and present that. Those, of course, and all the things that come with being organized and helping, making sure that we're headed in the right direction, achieving goals and stuff. But yeah, those would be more of the kind of I guess experience or personality or character traits that a role in partnerships would entail.
Okay, awesome. And then just real quick, one more. You also mentioned some of these partnerships that you're trying to make happen. I currently work for a Canadian, like through and through Canadian company on the retail side, but in the retail industry, but I'm on the corporate side. And the crypto aspect has been brought to the table, but there are some obstacles there. In terms of the value that you think Shakepay could bring to a company like that, is it just would it just be like a crypto cashback feature for a rewards program, or is there anything on top of that that you think could be possible?
I mean, it depends the company, and we can talk about that offline. I mean, the cashback rewards program is, I would think, the lowest barrier to entry. There are some institutions and organizations that want to go deeper into what opportunities are there for them, whether that be, from uh, like financial operations side, putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet, buying Bitcoin, setting up a corporate account, what that means for them. How does that work custodially? How does that work on their balance sheet? How does that work on their tax and accounting implications? Of course, we would have teams to be able to help them through that. But that is a much different path than becoming a cashback partner. There's other organizations that are interested in being able to allow their customers to pay in Bitcoin, and that again is a totally different conversation. But have and explore and pull on that thread and see where it goes, and eventually we could maybe do. But yeah, ultimately, like I said, the lowest hurdle or barrier rather to getting involved with us, and I would say, is the cashback program, because it allows a company little to no risk, and saying that they are they are on the cutting edge, so to speak, of crypto ecosystem, and are offering have some Bitcoin exposure, offering Bitcoin products to their customers in the way of this cashback program, and it involves no integration. There's no technical lift for them to have to do. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jay Skills, thank you so much for coming up on stage. That was awesome. Any other people who would like to ask Carlo a question? I do encourage other Shakers to come up on stage as well. This is your chance.
Chance to put me on the
Sorry,
spot.
man. Yeah.
Not like you have.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Hey, Carlo, how you doing?
What's up?
I just wanted to get your insight into what was the biggest monetary item that you ever purchased in your past that you wish you had purchased Bitcoin instead?
Man, trying to dox me here. Geez. Okay. So, I've had this conversation with my wife, actually. She hits me occasionally when we talk about it, because she. But it's I bought a fancy high time preference Jeep Grand Cherokee in 2011. I think it was just around the time when I was Max Kaiser. And yeah, you can decide what a Jeep Grand Cherokee cost. It was used, but only like a year old. So I paid a pretty price on that thing. And if I had bought Bitcoin in 2011 instead of that Cherokee, yeah, it was Bitcoin was less than $1 at the time. So you do the math. That's the final answer, and always will be.
Oof.
Oof. Major
Oh.
oof.
Hideo, thank you so much for that question. That was awesome. Pretty good insight. I feel like all of us, like there's not one person that knew about Bitcoin in its early stage and isn't kicking themselves for not buying. I mean, at almost every price level, even at the high point of 2017, when they were 20 grand each,
Yeah.
you're still kicking yourself, right?
So I my the way I deal with that is the reality is, and that's when I kicked off the call, I said get Bitcoin at the price that they deserve. Really, if I'm going to be honest with myself, had I just aped into Bitcoin in 2011 or 2015, when I was just like, oh, like let me invest into this thing, two things are almost certain to have happened. One, I would have most likely lost the keys. or two, and this is the more likely scenario considering myself, I would have likely sold at a, maybe a 2x or a 5x appreciation because I was not ready to do the work. It was an investment opportunity and, a toy to play with and trying to get back. So I think, until you've done the work, anything before that is just assuming your current self is the person that is in that past version of yourself, which is obviously not the case. So no point in kicking yourself over something probably never material.
Very nice. I like that. That's a great way to think of it. And I could probably align with it. If I had gone in at, $1 or even $8, what's to say that I wouldn't have sold at $20 and still thought I did great? I get that. Cool. Sam Z, welcome to the stage, man. How you doing?
Oof, I had no idea I was on the stage. Doing well, good. Carlo, I do have a question for you though. Okay, what is the most fiat thing you've ever done? And then conversely, what is the most BTC maxi thing you've ever done?
Oh God. Okay, so the most fiat thing I ever did. Okay, so I equate this question was, where did you splurge versus where are you cheap? So where have I splurged? Man, you know what? Before I had kids and I was in the hospitality industry, I had it was very part of the industry, so to speak. In that time, my wife and I were going out for dinner. Seriously, I would, if I'm not exaggerating, 3 times a week. And so over the course of, I would say, 3 years, once a week would be an easy week. So 2 to 3 times a week, that would have been for sure. And I would say this is 2008, 2009 to 2012, in that range, before I, got more mature. So I had, business that was doing quite well and had kids, and that, I would say, I don't know if that answers your question as a one-time purchase, but it's generally the most expensive thing that I ever did was 3 years eat out all the time.
So fiat.
So fiat, yeah. Now I have a farm and I eat air. No kidding. Then the most maxi thing. Oh my God, this is recent. There's probably others, but how you're driving and it's raining and there's kind of mist and you don't really need to use your wiper. And so I'm like, if I use my wipers, and my wife's like, hey, put the wipers on. I can't see. I'm like, I could still see. I'm like, wiper. You waste the blade a little bit and then you got to buy a new one. So I push using my wipers because I don't need to replace them as often.
Respect.
Yeah.
Mad props for having the balls to admit that. That's amazing.
Yeah. But only because, why waste it? It's I could still see, so.
Thank you so much, Sam Z. That was an awesome question.
Great question.
Very good. Anyone else would like to come chat with Carlo for a few more minutes before we wrap this up? You know what, Carlo? I have one question that we could maybe end on. Tell us, what is your favorite part of the day working for Shakepay? What do you wake up to just excited about every single day?
Oof. Man, it's not one thing, but I'll try. So if I've been trying to get a partner to answer an email, and they finally do, that meeting is so exciting. And I've recently had a few of those. It's things are happening, and it's been very, very just having those first conversations and just explaining what we're doing and that they're just responding is a testament to where this is going and how Bitcoin is getting on the lips of even some of the biggest organizations or in the world across multiple industries. So just knowing that meeting is happening is exhilarating. I can't I need to don't tell accounting I would do it for free. Don't tell
He may
HR.
be listening. Uh-oh.
Oh. No, that is on all seriousness. That and on a couple of days a week, I come to the office, and our team is fully distributed, and across Canada, and not everyone is here all the time. But coming into the office is always so fun and energizing. Having some FaceTime with the people that we work, so hard and like so many hours together with is a really invigorating experience as well. So I would say those two things. Everyone probably says this, but I have the best job in the world. I don't know if everyone says that, but I have the best job in the world. I'll rephrase. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there behind you. I also have the best job in the world.
There's something's not computing. We have both of one of the same thing.
Oh, awesome. Carlo, thank you so much for being here today, man. This was an amazing call to the community as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really do just want to have these community calls to let you guys get to know us a little bit better. We're going to let you guys all head out. Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Just a quick thank you, everyone, for showing up and for listening, Corey, and I really do appreciate both, personally and for Shakepay as that you're all here and just contributing to our story and the fact that you take time from your day to kind of listen to us, do our thing and say our thing is really, really meaningful, and very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Sweet. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye-bye.